Welcome to Integrative Lawyers of the World, where we believe that lawyers can and do contribute to the healing of the world. We believe this because we know lawyers who are doing just this. Hi, I'm your host, Carrie Raleigh, and our guest this episode is Olivia Fürst from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Olivia is a founding partner in one of the first law firms in Brazil dedicated to resolving conflict outside of litigation. She uses dialogue, mediation, and collaborative law practices. Olivia also is a professor and she provides training within companies and corporations. Olivia is also a co-founder and the current president of the Brazilian Institute of Collaborative Practices. Thank you for joining us in our conversation today. And if you are interested in hearing more conversations of integrative lawyers from around the world and to support the integrative law movement, go to our website at www.integrativelaw.com. Hi, Olivia. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Brazil.
Hello, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy and honored with the invitation.
Well,
thank you very much.
You are welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. We are very happy that you are here. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your legal journey?
Wow, it's big story, and I love to talk about that because it's my life, and it's a big pleasure to share that with such a enthusiasm because moves me. And so I'm going to start from the beginning.
Okay. Yep, that's a good place to start.
From the very beginning.
Very nice.
From the very beginning. If it becomes too long, you can edit.
Okay.
But I'm going to start with the very beginning. When I was deciding what I was going to do, I first thought about doing something with arts, maybe architecture or design. I liked to draw. But then I went to do an exchange program in the United States when I was in high school. And in my first days when I got in the United States, we had a week in Atlanta. For a few days, we stayed there for orientations, and there were a lot of teenagers arriving from different parts of the world. And there was this commission coming from the Soviet countries. This was 1993, and we had, the fragment of the Soviet Union. So I had met teenagers from Ukraine, Georgia, Russia, that they had scholarships to go to United States to study for a school year. And then they had this cultural shock. They were impacted because they were coming from a communist situation and arriving in Atlanta and going, to Hard Rock Cafe and the world of Coca-Cola, and they were feeling that impact. And I was watching that, and they asked for volunteers to talk with those teenagers, and I was one of those volunteers to understand what was going on. Okay. And all of those situations impacted me, and I wanted to understand about governments and cultural situations and regimes, and what's that, and what the law means, and what's the differences between countries and human rights. I wanted to understand more about that. And I also had a father who was a political we had a dictatorship government in Brazil back on the 70s, and my father was in prison because of that. So always, and tortured. So always this theme of prison, liberty, torture, all of that was on my mind, and came with that experience on my teenage years.
Okay, so
And
let's
then
just stop before we go, and then in the
it's
next.
confusing. It's confusing.
It's not confusing. It's just that there's so much there. I want to just like absorb it all, and let our guest absorb it all. So you're a teenager and you're going for a study abroad in the United States. And is it part of like an organization that brings in different students from around the world to be exchange students in the US? And you all
Yes.
meet in Atlanta at the beginning of
For
your
a
school year
week.
for 1 week
Yes.
before. And during that week, you meet people from
I
other
met
students
people.
from
Yes.
the countries that
And
were part of the Soviet Union that are just newly free countries.
But not only, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I met people from Spain and from France.
Yeah.
We were all getting together in Atlanta for a week,
Mhm.
and then each one were going to different areas of United States to spend a whole school year with the host family. I went to Virginia.
Oh, you went to Virginia. Nice.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Wow.
So in my area, I had a great friend from Ukraine and another friend from Georgia. So
but from seeing the people from the different countries coming in and how they're seeing and reacting to the US and culture in the US, that sparked an interest in you and how government and the legal system and how that is related to human rights and culture and how those affect the people within any culture.
Exactly.
And that is premised on from growing up. Your dad was in prison part of your childhood because under a dictatorship regime, he was considered a threat by the dictator.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
He was fighting against the dictatorship.
Okay.
I wasn't born when it was before he was a young man by that time. But as I was growing up, I was hearing the stories of the prison. I was very curious about that. How is to be in prison and to be tortured? How is that possible? My father. So this was very strange. And then after that time, I had that experience, and that was very caused me impact that I thought I need to understand what that language of law. I need to understand, to understand that. To me sounds like a language that I wanted to understand. I need to understand that base of our civilization, that code, that codification, that regulates so many things like that. I want to understand, to be able to understand that language. And I thought by the time I was 17, I was a senior, and I thought that I wanted to work with human rights at the UN, at the, like that was where I was thinking about by that time. So then I went to law school in Brazil. We decide at the beginning, it's not like not in other countries. You choose law at the very beginning.
So in your undergraduate bachelor's program, you choose law.
Exactly.
Okay.
So at the age of 19, I was already at university studying law. And to make this story short, I graduated and I started to work in a law firm. I didn't find opportunity to work with human rights. Actually, I found, but there wasn't, how do you say, there wasn't paid, and I needed to work and I needed to have salary because, I come from a middle class family and I needed to receive. I couldn't, work without having a payment. So I couldn't go and to that direction. So
I'm shaking my head yes, because I know you. After law school, I wanted to go into human rights and different things too. And I got one position, but I also had student loans to pay. And I got one position, and I think it was great. It was helping impoverished families and in different when their civil rights were being violated and things like that. But I think it paid like it was in a rural part of Ohio, and I think it paid something like $11,000 or $13,000 a year. And my student loans were $750 a month. So I couldn't do it. And while the program itself said it will defer my loan payment, so I don't have to pay back the loans while I'm working for this, but it didn't forgive them. And I'm like, there's no way I'll be able to save any money to work toward paying my loans once they go up. I just didn't see how it was possible. And then I might cut this part out too. I was so eager for human rights. I like wrote and applied for Human Rights Watch. And I offered to do like volunteer work for them. And I didn't even get a response to my offer for volunteer work. And so I kind of got disenchanted a little bit by it. So anyways, that's my story, how I ended up going into corporate commercial litigation. Back to you.
Yeah, same thing here, Human Rights Watch and other. I worked a little bit at the CEGIU. I don't know if that makes sense in English. It's an organization for the Inter-American Human Rights System.
Okay.
Yeah. San Jose. So I did work a little for a while. I did had some work during college and then a little after, but like you, I wasn't able to pay back my compromises and to go on in life. I wanted to go out, to take care of my life, to get married, and not to depend on my parents anymore and things like that. So I need to move, and I didn't find an opportunity in that area. So I gave a chance to law. And I like to say that I put the tie on and I went to downtown.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity in a law firm doing civil law and doing litigation in civil matters. So it was very important to me. I stayed a few years there and I learned a lot.
For any non-lawyers listening to this, when you say civil matters and civil litigation, are you talking about like when businesses were having disputes with each other, contract disputes, things like that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, indemnization, that makes sense. I don't know my vocabulary. Like damages in like insurance company when you have, like that. Yeah. So like you said, any civil and commercial disputes, I was there. At the beginning I didn't did much family, but we had a little family at this firm. And then, but it was important school for me because I started to go to the tribunal, to the court.
Okay.
I started to do audience and I started to understand how the process works. And I learned how to advocate. How to have a client to work, how to start a process and what's the next step and how to go to the judge and how, to do the whole thing and to go to before the tribunal and to have an oral, I don't know how to say that in English. Oh my God. Before an appeal.
How to go through the trial level, and then if you would appeal it, how to have oral argument in front of the appellate court.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all. Everything.
The different phases of litigation and in the court system.
Yeah, I like to say that I learned how to ride my little bike. I learned how to do it. That was very important for me. And I think that I learned how to do it. And I learned a lot of important and good things. And also a lot of things that I didn't want to do it anymore or that I wanted to take for my life. In many ways, I don't think we need to go there, but I saw a lot of dysfunctionalities in the system. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Things that frustrated me, that dynamic of losing and winning.
Yeah.
And especially when I started to work closer to people and not, closer to the owner of a little business and more close to people when I started with family or a family business,
Yeah.
and then I started to be more like that. But what? So I like to say that. So I learned good things, and I learned to ride my little bike in a way, and I learned what not to do.
Yeah.
Of a lot of things that I don't want to do, and I don't want it to take with me for my life.
Yeah. I think, let's just pause there because I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. As you're talking about it, I know I can, in terms of my first several years in litigation too. The first few years, I'm so busy trying to focus on becoming a good lawyer, learning how to ride that, the litigation bike, like you said, that I'm not paying attention of, is this for me, or do I like it? Do I not like it? I'm just so zeroed in on being the best lawyer that I can be for my clients and working so hard. Then all of a sudden, when you get to the part where you can start riding your bike without being afraid of falling over, without working so hard, now you can look your head up and you're like, wait a second, I'm not too sure about this. I don't think I like riding this bike on this path.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
after a while, you started, where I'm going with my bike.
Yeah, where's my bike taking me? Because one of the things because I think a lot of people, get frustrated with litigation, and this, to our legal brothers and sisters in litigation, I never want litigation serves a purpose, and in some cases and in some things, it is the best way to proceed.
We are taking a brief break from this conversation to ask for your financial support. With each episode, we hope you can see how lawyers and peacemakers like you are contributing to the healing of the world. It takes many kinds of resources for the integrative law movement to keep going and affecting change. Your monetary donation can help us continue this important work by supporting the activities and the members of this community. Each contribution goes to promote the stability and accessibility of the movement and to support basic expenses like our Mighty Network group, web hosting, social media and event management, and this Integrative Lawyers of the World podcast. Because we like to give people choices, we have ongoing monthly options to match your budget, or you can make a one-time donation. Thanks to our non-profit corporate sponsor, the Renaissance Law Society, US supporters are able to make tax-deductible donations. Supporters from other countries, please check your local tax laws. To help establish confidence in your choice to support us, we have set up an open, collective, transparent plan to track how the community money is spent. For ways to support the integrative law movement and our world-changing work, go to our website at www.integrativelaw.com and click on Support the Movement tab at the top of the page. Another great way to support us is to rate us 5 stars and comment, like, follow or subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform. These ratings and interactions help us get seen and heard by even more people to make an even stronger impact. Thank you for your support and spending time with us today. Enjoy the rest of this conversation.
So I think a lot of people probably share in a feelings of frustration, sometimes in their career or sometimes with lawyers in particular in litigation. So do you mind if I ask you, what are some things that you found frustrating in that part of the legal practice?
Yeah, well, what I found frustrating.
What I found frustrating.
Frustrating. Oh my God, I need to practice my English.
Perfect.
It was to tell you the truth, and of course, I didn't want to go much in there, but the practice, like how do I say that? I had never had to do anything wrong or unethical, but I knew that that happens, at least in my country.
Yeah.
Well, everywhere in the world, I know.
Yeah.
So that's something I didn't want never to be part of this. And I never was part of this. Because there's a lot of power involved, and it's a lot of money and power, and that's something I didn't want. And there was a belief, at least for me at that time, that to be able to reach some results in some steps in life, you'd had to sell your soul, or to be able to do something. And I wouldn't do that, never. So that was something that will limit me in certain, but I didn't want to go that, but that was something that I would hear, that some things happen, in an area that I never reached that, but you hear that things happen in some untouchable spheres. And I didn't like that. So that was one point. And the other point was the lifestyle also. And the lifestyle that was imposed to me, that arrived very early in the morning, had to be there, give my blood to that, have to be the best lawyer, is the one that wins everything, is the lawyer that everyone in the respect as a like a shark lawyer, a pit bull lawyer, someone that wins everything. My boss would say that I was too cute. He said once to me, do you know how to say cuss words, bad words? He said that me, because he wanted me to go into the door of the judge, and with my feet, and slams the judge's door and say, and I said, I have other strategy to get what I want. I believe in the smile, and in being gentle, and in conversation, and respect conversation. And I end up bringing the same results with other strategy. By the way, I know how to say bad words and cuss words. I'm not an angel and a saint. I'm not saying that. I actually did say a lot of a very wide repertoire of bad words for him. I'm not an angel, but I mean, I don't want him. I would like to be respected in my strategy, in my profile, in my way to do things. Because if I'm bringing that result, so that was kind of one thing that I wasn't fitting there, and I wanted. And when I had my daughter, for example, I had a baby, and I was in that firm. Like my life started to be running back and forth on my lunchtime to breastfeed her, and when I came back home late at night, I would carry my baby, and she would fall asleep. And I said, that's not the life I want. To me, it's not neither a professional, neither. I'm not making a choice. I don't want to make a choice. I'm both. I want to have a family life, a professional life, full. I want to be full in both. And I want to integrate both. I don't want to make a choice. I
was just going to say, that's one of the huge tenets of integrative law, and one of our core values is that you get to be in integrity with yourself. You are who you are in your professional life, in your personal life, and one shouldn't have to sacrifice the other or be a sacrifice to the other.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time in the firm, I started doing family law there, and I started also to learn that the way of thinking, that way of thinking in the litigation, in the adversarial mode, I wouldn't be the lawyer I wanted to be to my sister. I was asked to be the lawyer that I wouldn't like to be the lawyer, like that, to the lawyer if my sister needed a lawyer, or my best friend, or myself. If I need a lawyer, or if my sister, for example, need a lawyer to get a divorce, I wouldn't recommend my firm. You understand what I'm
Oh, I
saying?
see. I see. Yeah. So you started
So
realizing,
I
I'm not
I
where I want.
decided,
Yeah.
yeah, because I was asked to be a kind of a lawyer, such litigator, such,
Mm,
mean, sharp lawyer that maximizes all the gains for my client, doesn't matter what,
hmm.
because that's the mindset by the time we're talking about 15 years ago or
Yeah.
more, almost 20 years ago. And a kind of a lawyer that I wouldn't recommend to
Mm.
someone I love,
Yeah. It
to someone I love.
wasn't aligned with your values or what you believe was the most effective way to be a lawyer. So once you realize this, you're like, if I wouldn't recommend this firm or myself in this firm to my family or friends,
To my best friend.
what
If
am I
my
doing
best friend,
here? Yeah.
what exactly? And to tell you one important note, I had wonderful friends from that firm.
Hmm.
I had met, like, they were my great friends
Yeah.
today there. It's just really, we're talking about a system.
Yeah.
We're talking about a system that reproduces that brings lawyers, that brings professionals in the law field, not only lawyers, judges, public prosecutors, public defenders, all of us. We came from that academic mind. We have that input that it's still forming us to
Yeah.
that litigation mode. But coming back to my journey, so that's what started to make me frustrated with that firm. And then I decided that I didn't want to make a choice, that I wanted to be full
Hmm.
both. I was the same person. I didn't want to. And I had this very, I started to feel that crisis very much, being frustrated because I didn't want to work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
I remember that once I went out, I have a younger sister. That's why I brought her example.
Yeah.
She's 17 years younger than me.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was a little girl, and I was around my late 20s when I had my first daughter. And one day I brought a colorful clothes, like I'm using today, colorful clothing. And she said, "Wow, but a lawyer doesn't use colorful clothing." She was a little girl. She said,
Ah.
like lawyer uses black, brown, and gray,
Mm.
because that's what I was doing. So we reproduces that
Yeah, we
without
do.
noticing,
Yeah.
you know. So
There
that's
was
what that
a
was.
there was a judge in one of the there was a judge in one of the courts in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm thinking this is probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, that if you were a lawyer and you were not wearing black, navy blue, or gray, he wouldn't let you in his courtroom. So if you accidentally
Pink,
showed up with like a different color blazer or
pink,
jacket, yeah, forget about
yellow,
it. Yeah, nope, you wouldn't be allowed in the courtroom. So,
you
yeah.
are not serious.
No,
Yeah, you're,
yeah.
yeah, because what that tells about you. And just to make a parenthesis, like just a funny observation. When I told you that before, when I was a teenager, I was thinking on doing something with art, right? I
Yeah.
like it to draw, and I thought about design, architecture, you know, Belas Artes, do something with arts.
Hmm.
And I decided to go to law. And my friend said, "What happened to you? You have a problem?" Like I said, "No, I'm still a good person. I had to say that, because, and people were like, and what art has to do with law?" And that's something that we need to talk also about that, but that's something else for
Yeah.
another podcast, maybe,
Well, I do think
or
that
not.
there is a lot of creativity in law, and I see a lot of creative
Totally.
spirits, including myself, who are drawn to the legal profession. Um, I mean, maybe it would be interested to talk about that overlap, creativity and the law, because I mean, think of it
Totally.
in litigation, right? Even where you are doing your legal briefs or your motions to the court, you have to come up with tell your case and kind of a story for the judge and tie in the legal, the legal analysis with the facts and evidence and string it all together in a beautiful brief that's not boring. That takes some creativity as well as logical and legal analysis.
Doesn't
I'm not
matter
taking
what we
creative.
do.
Yeah, I'm not meaning like
Doesn't matter.
creativity. But I just want to make sure I'm clarifying. I'm not talking about creativity where you're like creating new things and making things up. I'm talking about like the creativity in just in your writing and legal analysis. Like, 'cause sometimes when people say, "Oh, you're being creative," they might think like you're doing something that's distorted.
Innovating.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, disruptive. Yeah.
yeah.
We're not saying that. We are saying that anything you do, and I think that's the point of the integrative law and the integrative philosophy.
Mhm.
Everything we do there's art, and there's you can bring art and creative in healing
Yeah,
in everything you do,
yeah.
in everything you do, because that's everything, doesn't matter if you're a doctor, an engineering, a cleaner, everything you can be creative, and you can
Right.
bring art, and you can do things with art and creative or not. It's a more an attitude than I'm an artist
Yeah.
because I paint. I don't have that really. I'm talking about art, creative, and also love. And there's nothing. I mean, I'm not going away from my path because I'm talking about. I thought doing that, and I wasn't seeing that in that firm without knowing that. And I'm also bringing. I would like to talk about to say. Nancy Cameron has that in her book, the Canadian lawyer, professor Nancy Cameron. I think in chapter 3, she talks about that, the moral lens, about that, the combed hair, how we are formed to be the sensitive are not welcomed, are not in the law school, are not they're like the sensitives are not the profile of the law students. They're more strict. So that's what we face. And when we go to the market, to the firm, to work, that's what I saw. We were black, we were blue. We cannot be able and allow ourselves to be who we are, to be connected to our personal abilities, to our sensitive, because that's where creative comes from our sensitiveness, from our, so if we are not stimulated, it's not that we are stimulated, we are not allowed, we are disestimulated, because that's not what they're expected from lawyers. And that's what I found in that law firm. And it wasn't compatible with the family, the lifestyle I wanted to have. I wanted to have a life. I wanted to work to have a life. I didn't want to have a life totally dedicated to work. I wanted to have a more equilibrated and integrated and meaningful life and work and family things. That was so what I did. Should I go on?
I was just going to ask you, so how many years into your practice of law were you when you were making this realization?
So I was, by that time, I stayed in that firm around 7 years.
Okay.
So I was around my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first child, a daughter, and she was a baby, and I quitted. I decided not to stay there anymore in that firm. I was married by the time with my daughter's father, and I was privileged by the time because he said, you can quit your work and I can hold everything at home and take your time and decide what you want to do. And I end up in a very deep crisis. I thought about I'm going to open, how do you call that store that you sell old clothes,
Oh,
old stuff?
like either a consignment shop maybe where people drop
Like
off their
that.
old stuff and then you
Yeah.
resell it, or yeah, okay.
Like kid stuff, because I was in that time of life having a baby. So I wanted to, we have so many things that I thought I'm going to reuse that or
Yeah.
sell. And so I thought about doing other things. I thought about maybe doing a public um, exam, maybe become a judge, or maybe do a master, or what I wanted, to tell you the truth, Carrie and everybody that's here with us. I wanted to take care of my daughter. She was a baby, and I wanted to be and stay at home. So I stayed at home for about 2 years and a half. I didn't I didn't stay at home full time. I wanted to stay to take courses. So I studied. I take care of her. I feeded her. I took care of her. And I was doing courses. So I studied family law, and I was updating my, about law and studying. So then I started to work with a friend. A friend from college invited me to join her. She had a little firm, and we had already worked together in family cases.
Mhm.
And she said, "Would you like to come and join me? I'm opening a small firm in downtown, and we can make our time, and we are going to work with family." And I said, "Wonderful," because I was studying family law and I was very interested. I really like it. And I said, fine, because I was going to do my time and I could adapt with the family lifestyle. It was much more,
Yeah.
flexible and my own space. Perfect. So I stayed with my friend for a few years. My daughter was a little girl and things were wonderful. This friend told me about mediation. She told me I had never heard about mediation, and she had a course in mediation, and she was very excited about mediation.
Okay.
This was around 2006, 2007. Okay.
Hmm.
So we were doing litigation in
So,
family law.
so in Brazil, prior to 2006, like mediation wasn't common or commonplace?
No,
Okay. Okay.
mediation is new in Brazil. I didn't
Okay.
know by that time, but there were a lot of projects going on in
Mm.
mediation. But our law is from 2015. So mediation is
Wow.
brand
Okay.
new in our
Okay. Because
culture.
I know in the US, we have already had, when I went to law school, mediation was already part of our law school. Like I took a mediation practicum in law school. And then I know when I was practicing in Florida for litigation, before the court rules in Florida, before you can go to trial, the parties have to go to mediation first. So it was already part of the established legal system.
Since the 70s, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been there for a while, yeah. But in Brazil,
In
just
Brazil, no.
2006. Interesting. Okay.
No, 2015.
Oh,
Uh,
2015. Okay.
Yes, the law is 2015. Before that, there were projects, there were things going on, courses. There was like a lot of initiatives, there were things
Hmm.
going on, but it wasn't popular. People didn't know about that. Our justice system didn't offer mediation yet. This
Okay.
started, we had a public policy from the national CNJ, from the National Council of Justice from 2010,
Okay.
establishing that we need to adapt the how do I say that in English? I need to find out that like the different method to each situation. There's
Okay.
not an only or the only one. We have different methods, and we need to fit the best method to each situation. Okay,
Okay.
like the multi-door idea.
Okay.
And then we had the law, the mediation law, It was published in 2015. So see how is just new.
Yeah, that
There
is
are
new.
people here are still getting educated about mediation. There are a lot of lawyers and a lot of people that had never had an experience with mediation.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
people that's okay.
Yeah.
So that's
So
something
you're at
important to know.
you were working at this the law firm with your friend
My
doing family
friend.
law. She introduced you to mediation. What did you think
Yes.
about mediation? How did that affect your future career, your future path?
I took the course 2009. I did my course in mediation and I loved it. At the time I thought, wow, I wish I could work with mediation in Brazil one day. I wish I hope this become reality in our country. This is a very powerful method. And that's what I want to do. I didn't know about everything that was going on. This was 2009. And by the end of that year, I had a very special invitation. I was indicated by the public authorities in Brazil to become the observator and the mediator of oh my gosh, in English, the compensation fund, the compensation fund program for the Air France plane crash. Do you remember that plane crash?
Okay. So there was a
that
plane crash and you were called to be a mediator for the compensation fund for that. How were you selected for that? Did you apply for it? How did you get that?
No. It was a program it was a program that was created. The accident happened by the end of May. It was the night, May to June of 2009, in the flight Rio de Janeiro to Paris. And this program started in December 2009. So I had finished my course in mediation, my training in mediation, few months earlier. And this compensation fund was created by representatives from the Minister of the Justice, the public prosecutor, the family, the security company, Air France, all these parties, they got together and they made the design system, right?
Yeah.
Like inspired on the compensation program of the September 11th.
Yeah. No,
right?
I understand that
And
part.
then,
My question is, how did you get selected for it?
I'm gonna go there. Yeah.
Okay.
I was the assistant during college of the representative of the public prosecutor that was part of the design. And then she indicated me. So the public authorities that built the program indicated the mediators. It was me and another mediator from São Paulo.
Wow.
And we were there from the public authorities. We weren't indicated by the enterprise, Air France or okay.
So here's my takeaway from this a little bit is there's a lot of on anyone's legal journey or your journey or path in life, there's always a little bit of serendipity, I think, involved. Here it is, Brazil mediation is just starting out. So there's probably not that many, from what I'm hearing from you, not that many people trained in mediation. You just finished your mediation training at this time where someone, a professor or someone in university got put on this board. And now this person needed someone in mediation. You had worked for her in the past. She knew you. She trusted you. And that's how you got selected into this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
she invited me. It wasn't a selection. She knew I had done the course. There wasn't other professionals. And she pointed me and invited me to be there.
Yeah.
And I had the qualification.
Yeah. So that's where I imagine where it's a little bit of serendipity in there. Now you had to do the work and be prepared and be ready to, you know, when you're being tapped by serendipity, you also need to make sure you're prepared to say, hello, here I am, you know? So
Exactly.
how was it working on that, working as part of that compensation fund and the mediation process? I have to imagine it was a bit difficult dealing with families and friends of the passengers with the company.
Yeah, to me there's before and after that experience,
Okay.
of course. To me, it was a very, very strong, very powerful experience. So I can tell you me before that and after that, because so I took part of that program in December 2009. The program dured 2 years.
Right.
And to tell you about a little bit, there was another mediator. We shared, because I still had my firm, so I need to share my time with both. So I worked at the program 2 days, twice a week, and the other mediator twice a week. So, and then we would share. And we had one day that both of us were there.
Okay.
So it was like that. And so at the very beginning, I discovered myself, I was pregnant of my second child. And that was just a curiosity. The organization, we had the meeting to discuss if it was proper or not that a mediator pregnant would be receiving and dealing with families and, like you said, and in a negotiation involving a life.
Oh, so they thought it might trigger, like, it might be hard for the families who lost someone to see someone pregnant and bringing in life. So it wasn't so much you're pregnant, we're not sure if a pregnant woman can handle this. It was more of the fact.
Both things.
Oh,
they
both
were
things.
Worried about both things. If I could handle that, and if it was going to be maybe too appealing, like, you know, to bring someone with a big, but that everything was separated, just a curiosity. And I think it's a curiosity. And I said, no, I'm used to deal with crisis. That's my work. I need to see to crisis situation. So anything I can, I'll tell you. Anything I can, I scream. I'll say, hey, I'm not fine. I'm not. And what I heard is that the ambience is going to be very heavy, because we are talking about the loss of people and death, and the plants are going to be dry, and, you know, therefore, and that's not what happened, Carrie. And, you know, that's not what happened. And another thing I learned when I had the training,
what happened
to go there, is it wasn't there. I met wonderful people. I got in touch with people, you know, with humans, you know, and it was like a very, we created, because with the attitude we are talking about. And I think that integrative attitude, collaborative attitude, it's an attitude. You transform the ambience you are. So I'm not saying that it was the whole idea, and me and my other friend, the other mediator, and the way, and all the proposal, everything that happens, like the beginning of the meeting started with the official ask for apologize from the. When I first heard that, and I said, this is not going to work. Like, apologize for losing my child or my husband or my parents. I don't want to hear. That's my thought. I didn't know about that. And when I saw the effect of an official apologize, it's totally different from what we see in the audience, in the court, that the people the enterprise is saying, it's not my fault. It's the fault. It's the weather. It's, you know, here we are saying, I'm very sorry, and I'm here. That's how we start. And this transforms the whole thing. And I was impacted. I didn't know about that
Yeah.
effect. And I met a lot of different people. So what I have to say, to make it a little shorter, because we have more to say about the journey, is that to me, what I have to say, Carrie, is that I learned that each family is a family, and each family deals with grief and with pain and with what happens with us in a proper way. There's no recipe, there's no main rule. One size do not fits all. That's not true. And I saw that in a very, strong way, very raw. It's very, so I saw at least 4 kinds of families in that program. There was one kind of family that would say, I'm never going to the compensation program, because my way of dealing with that is fighting until the end, until the last, to the Supreme Court. I don't care. I'm never shaking hands of the security company or never. Doesn't matter how much it's going to cost. Doesn't matter how long it's going to take. That's my way of dealing with that. Fine. There is another kind of family that would say, I have my lawyer that takes care of my family. I trust my lawyer. I have a long relation. He's already taking care of that. He's already talking to the lawyers of the France, or doesn't matter. He's already, negotiation and agreement for our family, and I'm fine with that. I don't need the court, and I don't need the compensation program. Fine. Others came to the program and said, okay, those parameters, they fits me, and I have urgency, or I need to move on with my life. Doesn't matter. That's what I want to be, and and that's makes sense to me to make an agreement and to be here. And there was another kind of family, or less group, but other kind of group of people that said, I don't want to receive anything. To me, I don't like to be called a beneficiary. I'm not that makes sense to you? Beneficiary?
Yeah, I don't want to say I'm benefiting from my loved one's death. I can see that, yeah.
I don't want to receive 1 cent. I'm not a beneficiary. Don't call me that. Just don't call me that. I'm not going to the court. I'm not going to negotiation. I'm not going to the compensation program. Just leave me alone.
Okay.
With my pain, with my loss. And that's fine. So, and then as a lawyer, I understand where's the good right? That makes sense to you? I'm saying, but you have the right. They need to pay you. You lost someone. So doesn't matter. Doesn't make sense. We never know. Each one has its own way to deal with that. And we need to respect that. We need to understand that. So for a lawyer, from that mindset that I came from that firm, say, how can you say that they owe you that money? You lost, they have responsibility. Please, they don't, they force. So that's not, we need to be sensitive to understand what our client needs. Who is our client?
So is that one of the things when you said, when you look at this time in your life and being a mediator on the compensation fund, that there was your life before and your life after? And part of your life after is, wait a second, I need to be open, or I am open now to my clients may have different views or different needs, and they may be part of the solution, and I need to listen to them and work with them a little bit more.
Of course.
Or be open that there are different ways to respond to conflict. There's more than just this way. Yeah.
Because I understood that the external elements of the conflicts can be the same. But each person, each family is totally different from the others. That's the point.
And that's fine for people to be, people are different. It's fine for them to have their differences and be different. Okay.
Exactly. So it was the same situation for everyone, but each one demanded from the lawyers a totally different path,
Yeah.
a totally different approach.
I
So
wanna-
after that, I decided that I wasn't going to do litigation anymore.
And that good. I was just about to say I want to be mindful of our time. I want to be take me to collaborative law. When did you become aware of collaborative law, and then what did you do once you became aware of it?
Right in this moment. So
Good.
the program ended in, I don't remember exactly the month, but I think it was around mid 2011. And I decided that I wasn't going to stay in that firm with my friend anymore because I wasn't going to do litigation anymore. And she was still doing mediation and litigation. And I decided that I wanted to dedicate myself only to mediation because that was the only method, consensual method that I knew by that time. So then I came back to my professor, Tania Almeida, who is my teacher, my professor here in Rio, that was my teacher in mediation. She has an institute of mediation. And I told her that I said, I'm quitting my job again, second time. Okay, first time the meeting, second time, now I'm quitting my job. There was my family holding me, helping me to make this change again. And I had my baby boy this time, and I was also, so I like to say that because just a quick note again, people say that kids can make it harder, make it more difficult. Of course, I could count with my husband by the time, but each kid came to me, made me make a step ahead.
I see.
And decide and focus.
Nice.
They helped me to prioritize and to focus on what matters. So my kids were very welcoming in my professional career. They helped me to grow. My experience is different. Maybe when you integrate more, maybe when you then, so to me, the kids made me grow as a professional. That's what I wanted to say. So I had my boy at the time. He was a baby, and I wanted to take care of him as a baby. And then I decided to quit the firm I was with my friend, and I came to my professor and told her that I wanted to dedicate to mediation because that was all I knew about consensual methods. And then she told me, come to a group that I'm going to start. I'm just founding a study group on collaborative law because Tania Almeida, she goes every year to the ABA Congress in the United States.
Okay.
She's a doctor and a mediator, and she goes every year to the ABA conference, to the section of conflict resolution to learn what's new. And she brings to us, to her students. And that year she heard about Pauline Tessler, and she brought some of her books and some other books, like The New Lawyer, from Julie McFarlane, Canadian professor, and Forrest Mostyn books, and Stu Webb and Ronowski books, and Pauline Tessler books. And she brought everything, and she said, with another lawyer, Fernanda Paiva, from here, they both founded the first study group in Brazil. And I was there, and I was lucky to be there. And I was lucky to be there and with free time. So when I saw all these books and when they presented the idea, I just fell in love. And I said, that's what I wanted to do, because I understood that that was the integration of the tools of mediation with the essence of being a lawyer, because I was feeling this separation, and that I could join the both things. I could be a lawyer and use the tools of mediation and still be a lawyer. And I could work in consensus building as a peacemaker, and that everything just came like that.
Came together.
I
just
felt
fit.
like I was like incarnating, it was like I incarnated at that time, you know,
Okay,
like,
yeah.
whoa. And then I started to study. And then in the next year, I went to the first forum in Chicago. This was 2012. So I was already very enthusiastic about that, reading and talking and being very active here with the study group. And then becomes another chapter of the story, because this was October 2012. I was the first Brazilian, as far as I know, to go to a forum, to the collaborative forum, to the IACP forum. And then I was introduced to everybody, to Ron Oski, to Stu Webb, to Pauline Tessler, to Nancy Cameron, to Kim Wright, to everybody. And then I was so welcomed, and I felt so, and I was already going there in October 2012
Had
to
you,
find a group to come to bring a training to Brazil.
oh, great. So had you already read their books? A lot of the books of the people, a lot of the authors of the books that you read were at that conference, and you met them. So that had to been kind of cool to meet them. Yeah. Very
To
nice.
me, it was like, oh my gosh, everybody, were there and hugging me and saying welcome and giving to me. And there was like Ronowski and Stu saying, here's a video of our book. Just go ahead and share. Show to your friends. Go ahead. And they were so generous. And everybody, and I felt so. I came back from that trip with so many materials and so many contacts, and so filled with information and love and enthusiasm, and and I was filled with energy and information and important material to share free, to that I came, and we started to translate and to work and to do. And then I joined it with me and Marcelo Rodanti, that I know you interviewed.
You were at the conference, you got a lot of information, you met a lot of people, you were inspired and empowered. And so you went back to Brazil thinking, I really want to build this collaborative law here in Brazil. How did you do that? What did you do?
So I came back from the conference. This was October 2012. I was in the conference by myself, but I wasn't by myself here in Brazil. I was with a group. We were a group, a multidisciplinary group. So we had a bunch of mental health professionals and some financial, and a bunch of lawyers. And we were working and getting together what we need to do to bring that idea to Brazil, to implement that idea, to adapt that idea to our culture. Okay. So we decided, and then in 2013, we started to think about practical things we could do to make it a reality. So first, we started to experiment and discuss. We read the books together.
Oh, that's neat. Okay.
So we met every month, and we studied the books together, and we started to discuss cases, and we started to work and to, at the beginning. And then we said, we need to have a training. One of my missions when I went to Chicago was to identify the trainers and to choose a team to bring to come to Rio to give a training. Okay. So that's one of the measures. So we decided for Pauline Tessler's team, and she came and gave the first training in Brazil beginning in April of 2014.
Wonderful.
For 150 people from different states.
For 150 people. That's amazing.
Yeah. But before that, we still in 2013, we did other things. We did a website explaining what is collaborative practice. We did a video that was translated into English. I can send it to you also, explaining the idea. It's a short video explaining difficult ideas in a simple way. And one thing very important, Carrie, is that I wrote that idea, that practice in a public, in a conquest. I don't know how to say, in a justice. I got a very important award in the justice system. We have the most important award in the justice Brazilian system is the Innovare Award. And we got the Innovare Award at the end of 2013 by the idea of bringing collaborative practice in family law to Brazil.
How was the awarding body, who gave the award? The
ministers of the Supreme Court, the representatives of the most important institutions in the family law justice system.
Here's my ultimate question is, you're still new in this. You have the practice group. How were they aware of what you were doing?
Because I applied.
You saw the awards, you applied for it, you let them know what you were doing, and then you got it.
They have the award every year. It's a very famous award here. And they have every year, so in different categories, judge, lawyers, in different categories. And so we got the prize in lawyers.
You got the prize in lawyers. And once you got that prize, that just helped promote you and collaborative law even more.
We were on national TV. In a sudden. We were on national TV. We were in the news. 8 o'clock in the news.
And
we were there.
And this is before your training?
Before.
So
that's why we had 150 people. Because everybody wanted to know, what's that? Yeah. So one thing that is very peculiar in Brazil, Carrie, is because mediation and collaboration arrived together.
Yeah, they
in the United States. So at the same time that you have mediation coming, and in many ways, lawyers can be their mediation is taking out the lawyer's work, because you don't have to be a lawyer to become a mediator, and lawyers are there's a frightening, that's at least as far as I know, it's common. That lawyers, if they don't understand in the first moment, they can feel threatened by mediation. We come and say, no, you can, put together, and here is something else we can do in this new context. So we are facing a lot of changes in our system. So if you think, we are talking about 10 years ago. So we're talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah, so in 10 years ago, let's just, we've been on for already an hour and a half, so I want to be mindful of our time. So in that 10 years, where is it now? Like, I know you are one of the founders of the, what is it?
IBPC,
the Brazilian Institute of Collaborative Practice. So you have your own collaborative practice in Brazil. How many members do you have in there?
Yeah, I am the co-founder. I'm not the president anymore. There is already a succession. Yeah, that's no problem. But there is someone else, but that's fine. I'm still there, and we're still working. I'm not sure how many members, but we have trained more than 1,000, maybe almost 2,000 people, and we had more than 30 trainings. Wow. We are going to have the 32nd now. We have one training now in August and another one in September. We had translated and published 4 books. Pauline Kessler's 2 books, Pauline and Peggy Thompson, The Collaborative Divorce. We had, unfortunately, I don't have them here, but I can send you also pictures after if you want to put in the website. We had translated Pauline Kessler book for lawyers, Collaborative Law, that book for lawyers. The Stu Webb and Ronald Wuski, Collaborative Way to Divorce, and the Nancy Cameron book, Going Deep, the name is coming. I'm missing the name in English, but Nancy Cameron's book. So we had 4 books translated and published by the Institute, and we are selling because we want the books to be adopted by universities, by public conquest, to be accessible in Portuguese, our language. We have done 3 national congresses. We had already brought other professionals. Stu Webb again and Ronowski came. We had the first Congress 2017.
Is collaborative law thriving in Brazil? Like, are people having collaborative cases? Is the public aware of collaborative law?
Brazil is a huge country. It's a huge country, like United States, Australia. Yeah. It's a huge country. Of course, we are working in a cultural change. So, and happily is not fast, because we are talking about a deeply and a profound paradigm shift, and couldn't be fast.
Yeah.
So, but it is being very fast, because this year, 10 years after, we are in a completely different place we were 10 years ago. So today it's very defined, it's very well known, but not well enough. We're still working on that, because we know that our universities are still embracing that idea. We're still working on that. We know that this changes. It's a big curve.
Sure.
But I'm a realistic and hoping person. I tend to look to what's working. So, I mean, I'm working from that. I'm paying my bills after that. We were talking about.
You said your firm is dedicated to resolving conflict in outside of the court, non-litigation ways. So, are you having collaborative? No litigation, and you're doing. Are you having collaborative cases?
Yeah, I'm working with collaborative cases. I work with mediation. And I work with a mixture, because our legislation allows us to have a joint representation. I can be only one lawyer to a couple. So I have these 3 possibilities. And I have done other works that we won't have time to discuss, because I know we are out of time. But I had work, like in the compensation program example, I had worked with schools in process dialogue in restorative circles, but we can talk about that in another occasion. But I have been working in other situations, facilitating dialogues. I'm also a teacher, and I'm giving courses and trainings, and like you said, courses in companies. So that's how I'm living, and I'm paying my bills. I'm not in downtown. I'm in I have my own firm, and I'm not doing litigation anymore. I'm working most of the time with families, and family.
Very nice.
Anything that goes with families, and in a collaboration.
Now, how does this compare with, like you said, when you were at that firm, you're learning how to ride your bike, and then you got to a point and saying, ooh, this doesn't quite fit for me, to where your practice and your professional life is now? How do you feel about when you look around and saying, oh, you look around and you see everything that you're doing? How do you feel about that?
I feel that, I still have lots to do, lots to conquest. There's lots of work. I mean, I don't feel that I got there. I think we're still working to build that culture, to still disseminating that idea, because I see that it's not difficult to make people, clients and colleagues and other lawyers to understand and to embrace the idea of collaboration and dialogue, and also the integrative idea here. But it's difficult to put it here, to put it in the guts, here, in the belly. It's a different thing, So to disautomatize some behaviors, we are kind of in the automatic behaviors of behaving in a litigation. We don't even notice. So it's a very deep change of paradigm, and we are still working on that. It's not enough to have a training. It's profound. Your question is what? Go ahead.
For you, like I understand,
for me.
For you were at a point in your career at one point where you're like, I wouldn't recommend my firm to my sister or my friend because this what we're doing here is not me.
Okay.
How do you feel now when you look at what you're doing now? How do you feel that this is what you're doing?
Yeah, I have an answer to you. I think I got there. I think, Carrie, because to tell you the truth, to me, I think I got there because I'm being recommended by the ex-wife or ex-partner of my client. So when the ex-partner of my client recommends his sister or her sister to me, I know I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
And that happened. And that's happened. I know that's the right place.
Wow.
Because
and how does that make you feel?
I don't even know.
Well, you're smiling. Yeah, how does it make you feel?
Huh?
You have a smile on your face now, and I'm guessing it feels.
I think makes me feel emotion. I think gives me emotion. It's hard to describe because we're talking about healing, we're talking about art, we're talking about love, we're talking about shared values, we're talking about such a challenging life, such a challenging world, and being able to do something that's meaningful to the others, that's meaningful to myself, makes me feel making a living out of work that helps the world to become a better place, a more loving place. There's no price. So I'm writing a book about everything we're discussing today, and it's very, we're still having a lot of challenging, like making a living out of this, working with the culture, with the difficult of understanding of people, like we're talking about understanding the value of this work, but meeting the people brings me emotion. I think that's, like you said, my emotion is my answer to you.
Yeah, you have a big smile on your face, which means that like you're which I guess I'll just lead this into the next question. That smile when you get to be your authentic self and you're happy with that self and you're proud of the person who you are just because it's who you are, and that's how you get to show up in the world. So I end every episode with, what does integrative law or being an integrative lawyer mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's to be real. I think to be integrated is to be real. It's to be full. It's to be there. It's to be present. It's to be who I am, where I am, who you are. It's not to be divisions, fake divisions. Here I am something, here I'm something else. It's to be able to be coherent to who we are, and to be the best who we are, where we are, and not to be able to be, I don't know, like to be, fragmented. We can be a whole self. That's it. And it's not easy. It's not, sometimes I'm not saying that's like a rainbow all the time, but that's real life. And it's wonderful. It's love. And I'm very thankful for that. And And that's it.
And that's it.
Thank
Well,
you.
No, well, thank you so much for being part of Integrative Lawyers of the World. It has been so nice meeting you and sharing your story. And I love, for those who are listening to this and not watching the video, you're missing out on a beautiful smile right now that just radiates love and light through Zoom. So thank you so much for joining us.